I'm DJ Ray. I do these, I'm now calling them Music Goats live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on TikTok. What Music Goats stands for is the music greatest of all times. So each week I choose the greatest, like I was just saying last week, the theme was the greatest hip hopper. And Eminem won that one. I think it was LL Cool J second. I can't recall, but Eminem won that one. Who's the greatest of all time now? If you guys feel like typing in your choice, who number one is, I will consider you the winner. And this is a test, by the way, for my future contest that I'm hoping to have happening soon. I'm just trying to figure out a couple logistics. But, like they used to say, gentlemen's bet. Let's just, George Strait for Darren. Okay. Kenny Rogers for Paul. Wow, you guys are coming out of the gates with some hitters, eh? Now, Garth Brooks for Nana. Let's see if I missed any. Oh, Paul called Kenny Ray. Okay, so you got Kenny Rogers. We'll have to use a little bit of honor in this, guys, because it's hard for me to check all these. But I'm seeing quite a few. Darren, you got George Strait. Yeah, these are all great choices. I can't lie. But keep them coming in. If it's better not to say something somebody already said, pick your second choice then, because at least you'll own it. Dolly Parton for Sarah. I wonder why. Okay. Forget that. Strike that from the record. Are we live? Anyways, okay. So tonight, the greatest country artist of all time. And this one was hard, guys, because I've always been a big country music fan. A lot of people don't know that about me because I'm always playing house music or R&B, reggae, hip hop, whatever, pop. I'm not usually playing country, but there's been a few places I've DJed country and stuff, and it's just been so fun. I love country, especially the stuff with good guitar. And the female country singers of today, oh my God, off the charts. Not just great to look at, just Loretta Lynn for Mountain Mama. That's suitable. John Denver for JT. Okay, so I think I'm caught up here. Remember, we're going to use honor. If somebody said it first, everybody else kind of like collectively back the person that picked it, so we don't have to look through all that. Okay, let's get into it. DJ Ray's greatest country artist of all time at number 20. He was a singer and songwriter who had an incredible 20 number one hits on Billboard's country charts in the US. His name? Toby Keith. A few of Toby's number one singles include How Do You Like Me Now, Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, Beer for My Horses, and Whiskey Girl. Suitable titles, but that's just to name a few. Unfortunately, we lost Toby Keith to stomach cancer less than a year ago on February 5th, 2024. Just hours after his death, Toby Keith was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. How's that for irony? So number 20 goes to Toby Keith. Hats off. I wish I had a cowboy hat. It's one thing I've never had. Even though I'm a cowboy at heart, never had a cowboy hat. None that I'd wear in public anyway. Okay, so let's move up to number 19. Remember, we're all over the boards. It doesn't matter what decade these country artists came out. If they're the best, they're the best. And for those of you who are new, I just want to let you know that I have a scoring system each time. I don't just wing them off the top of my head. Although they're my picks, in fairness, if there's a tie or something, I can choose, so I do use my own, but a lot of it is my scoring system, which is also me. So when it comes down to it, I'm picking them. But for this particular category, I've got a 10-point system to choose the greatest country artist of all time. And I give 3 points for lyrics and vocals. I give 3 points for how many songs were charted. And just so you know on that one, if they chart a lot on the mainstream charts, I give them a little extra for that. I give them 2 points for how popular they were and remained through time. And I give them 2 points for cultural impact. So that's 10 total, and that's how I judge it. So Toby Keith, number 20, which takes me to number 19. He actually started his career as a professional baseball player in the early 1950s, but ended the career and became country music's first major black superstar. We're talking about the one and only Charley Pride. So number 19, Charley Pride. Among his many number one country singles, He's best remembered for his 1971 release of Kiss an Angel, Good Morning. What a great tune, eh? Kiss an Angel, Good Morning. That's a fun one. I'm going to have to remember that one for later. Sometimes I remind myself of good songs. He is one of three African American members of the Grand Ole Opry, with the others being DeFord Bailey and Darius Rucker. In the year 2000, he was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, and in 2017, Charley Pride received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. So, yeah, coming in at number 19 on my greatest country artists of all time, Charley Pride. You guys are doing good out there. Let's see. Vito, you're not well. What's going on, buddy? You know, everybody treat Vito good tonight. He's sad. Nana Bananas picking Johnny Cash. Wow, we're getting some good. We're getting Reba McEntire. That's your pick, Angel? I thought you picked somebody else. No, you didn't. Okay. Look at them coming in. Oh, somebody picked Johnny Cash first. JT. But JT picked John Denver. You got to clarify. Johnny Cash, or you're on the Johns. Coming in at number 18, this guy is considered as one of the pioneers of country music's outlaw movement. He had success not only as a solo artist, but also as a member of the Highwaymen, a country supergroup that included Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, and the Man in Black, Johnny Cash. Waylon Jennings comes in at number 18. This gentleman recorded several, he'd probably get offended if I called him that, but recorded several number one songs that topped the country charts in both Canada and the US. This includes songs like This Time in 1974, Lukin' Back, Texas in 1977, I've Always Been Crazy, 1978, and Amanda in 1979. We're talking about Waylon Jennings, who in 2001 was officially inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. So, yeah, there we go. Just a recap so far. Number 20 on my greatest country artist of all time list goes to Toby Keith, who we lost recently. Number 19 goes to Charley Pride, who we also lost, not as recently, but in the last few years. And coming in at number 18 was Waylon Jennings, one of the outlaws in the late 60s, early 70s. So just a reminder, I just want to take a quick sip here. Just a reminder, I'm DJ Ray. I'm here every Tuesday live on TikTok at 8 p.m. And every week we have a different music goat, standing for the music's greatest of all time in different categories. This week, it's the greatest country artist of all time. I hope you guys like country music, because honestly, I think this is my most quality list I've had yet of any of my lives, because I left off a good, like I said, 20, 25 amazing artists that I couldn't fit in here. And you might be surprised by this next one, but my scoring system puts her at number 17, and I personally find her amazing. She got her big break in 2003 after competing on the reality TV competition Nashville Star. A couple years later, she started dating fellow country star Blake Shelton, and we all know how that turned out. Of course, I'm referring to Miranda Lambert, okay? I just love her, you know. It's not just because she's pretty. Her rasp in her voice, her kind of neo-traditional, modern, all mixed up country vibe. Not afraid to, have some great guitar riffs. You know, throughout her career, she has recorded many number one country singles, including The House That Built Me, gets me every time, in 2010, Heart Like Mine, 2011, Over You, 2011, Something Bad with Carrie Underwood, 2014, and Bluebird in 2019. Some of her biggest country singles, actually number ones. They all were number ones that I just said there. She's the 3-time Grammy Award winner, and she has been honored with more ACM awards than any other artist in history. We're not just talking country. Any other artist in history, she's received more ACM awards. Well, hold on a second. That has to be country because it's a country award. Strike that from the record. Been a long week. and it's only Tuesday. Okay, so yeah, no, she's a 3-time Grammy Award winner, and she's been honored, like I said, with more ACM awards than any other artist in history. So country artist in history. Let's correct that. Miranda Lambert comes in at number 17 on my greatest of all time. Who's the country goat? We're going to find out. But right now, we're going to go to number 16. This guy's really unique in the sense that he was born in New Zealand. He's charted a total of 18 songs that topped Billboard's country music charts in the US. Some of these number one singles include Somebody Like You in 2002, Days Go By in 2004, We Were Us 2013, and Blue Ain't Your Color 2016. Of course, I'm talking about Keith Urban. Who is he married to again? What's her name? Nicole Kidman? Is he still married to her? Oh, Mountain Mama, yeah, you got Loretta Lynn. Just looking at some of the pics here. Remember, if you're just coming in, if you could choose, like type in who you think is the greatest country artist of all time, and we'll have a little fun at the end to see if you're right or not. Last week, the reigning champ is my sister Ange. She chose Eminem as the greatest hip-hop artist of all time, and according to yours truly, that was number one. So there you go. And there was no funny stuff going on, and there's no prize or anything. So we're just all for fun, all friends here. So if you, Ange is my champion too. So yeah, feel free to type in who you think is number one. If you want to scroll up and see what other people pick, so you're the first to pick, that's cool. If you want to pick the same one, that's cool. Give you honorary mentions to whoever buzzed in first. Okay, also, sorry, one other thing. Among Keith Urban's many country awards, he's also won 4 Grammy Awards and 4 AMAs. So he's a good crossover artist. And one thing, I don't want to keep harping on Keith Urban, but one thing I just got to say before I move to number 15 is Keith Urban, to me, is one of the greatest guitar players out there. And nobody gives him any credit because, I don't know. The thing is with Keith Urban, he's like a cross between traditional country and modern country. And he kind of started it, actually, in a way, a pioneer in that style. So he was wailing on the guitar, but he was doing it kind of in a banjo way. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not a guitar player, but so it was cool. But he's a great guitar player, Keith Urban, especially for the country genre. So yeah, number 16 goes to Keith Urban. Once again, thanks for tapping, for the likes, for all your comments, and for typing in who you think is the greatest country artist of all time. I've got a lot of great choices out there. I have a good feeling somebody might have already won. Ooh, did I say that out loud? He's still married to Nicole Kidman, Mom? Okay. That's great. That's great to see. He's a good guy, right? Like I would put Keith Urban a lot higher than 16, but my scoring system puts him at 16. So we'll go with that. And the funny thing is, my number one today, I honestly would never pick myself, but that person deserves it. So let's carry on. Number 15 has sold over 75 million records and is one of the best-selling music artists of all time. Music artist, not country. And he's still recording and releasing music. His most recent album, Mind of a Country Boy, was released just a few months ago in 2024. So we're speaking about Luke Bryan here, okay? I remember the first time I ever got introduced to Luke Bryan. Sorry, not in person. I didn't mean it like that. Introduced to him, like seeing him on TV or whatever. My first memory of Luke Bryan is him being on Donald Trump's Apprentice. God, I don't even know what year. We're going way back. And he was just kind of starting out. And Donald Trump had him on as a guest or something like that, not as a contestant. And he played that song, Rain is a Good Thing, which is his worst song. So he didn't come off very good back then. But he just aged so well and grew into his skin. And and still putting out pretty quality music. So Luke Bryan comes in at number 15. His crossover appeal has helped him chart more than any other country artist in recent memory. Some of these crossover hits include, and when I say crossover, by the way, I just mean songs that don't just do well on the country music charts in America, but also do well on the regular charts that put all the music genres together: R&B, hip hop, rock, dance, reggae, country, everything, on, for the most part. That's the Billboard Hot 100. That's, to me, the best chart in the world for picking real music. Like, when I say real music, I'm talking about stuff that sold music, I always say I'm like a cross between Casey Kasem, Ryan Seacrest, and Dick Clark. I really play the hits. I'm big about the Billboard number ones of all time. I'm big on, and they're hits for a reason, So, yeah. Do I have an indie side to me? Probably more than most, but not really, Hi, Morning Thunderbird. Hi, back. Okay, so let's carry on. Throughout his career, Luke Bryan has won over 50 major music awards, including 5 wins as Entertainer of the Year. So, yeah, as Keith Urban and Luke Bryan being a little more on the modern side compared to some of the others that I've mentioned, like Charlie Pride and Waylon Jennings, but they both deserve those spots. So coming in at number 15, Luke Bryan. Nobody said him for number 1, so everybody's safe. Did anybody say this guy? I'm a little surprised with this guy. I got a lot to say about this next guy, number 14. Okay, I'll say his name straight up, so that way, no playing around the bush, you know who I'm talking about. Number 14 is George Strait. Okay, let me tell you a little facts about George Strait first. Luke Bryan, drink a beer. That's the best one, JT. It's just so emotional. You can't watch that video and not tear up a little bit, right? Yeah, throughout his career, George Strait, we're talking about, number 14, has sold over an incredible 120 million records worldwide, making him one of the best-selling music artists ever. He is credited for pioneering the 1980s neo-traditional country sound at a time when the Nashville sound was being dominated by country pop crossover acts. I'm going to come back to that. Having charted over 40 number 1 country singles, amazing. He's the only artist in the history of music to have a top 10 hit every year for 30 years straight. See what I did there? George Strait. In 2006, George Strait was elected into the Country Music Hall of Fame, making him just the second active country artist after Eddie Arnold. Sorry, not active, sorry. Just the second country artist after Eddie Arnold to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. I don't even know if that made sense. Can we strike that too? See, this is the beauty of live, right? You can make mistakes and you can't do anything about it. I mean, in syndication afterwards, and that's why even when I don't have a big crowd or something like that, I'll just it's still great to do these and stick and perform like a talk as though it's a big crowd, because they're recorded and then I put them on various social media networks of mine, the DJ Ray music channels. So it comes in handy just for that too. Anyway, let's get back to the business at hand. In 2006, I told you that. Okay, so George Strait, I want to say something about George Strait, who I have at number 14. You can look at that glass half full, glass half empty. I've heard over the years, everybody talk so high about George Strait. He's the greatest ever in some cases and stuff. And yes, some of his numbers prove that to be true. But I got one thing to say, and this part might interest you guys. And if you think about it, you may agree with me. By the way, I'm not a Starbucks guy. I'm just I don't have my cup anymore, so it's my daughter's. So hope you don't mind. It's big. That's why I like it. How do I say this in a gentle way? Most of the 80s country artists are subpar, and even early the mid 90s are subpar. Just say the 80s. And something, I don't know, like if you look at country music, it's been great from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, you know, a good chunk of the 90s, especially the latter 90s, and then the 2000s. To me, it went off the charts. But the 80s kind of sucked. It just seemed like country wasn't hip in the 80s. It was its most down time for that genre. And they were picking anybody to have number one hits because, and that's why I think artists like, don't kill me, ones that came before in the 70s and went through the 80s, like Dolly Parton, for instance, I think I gave away the next one, is exceptions because they didn't make it big in a time when there wasn't much competition. And I don't feel a lot of the 80s bands, if they started in the 80s or solo artists, are as good as we give them credit as. If you want to be a good country artist today, you better bring it. So, no shot at, you know, George Strait, but I look at number 14 as glass half full. That's a high. For me, that's a high. But again, I go by the scoring system. So let's move on. I think I already leaked this one. My favorite number, and you'll see why. With a 60-year career behind her, she has been described as a country legend and has sold more than 100 million records. Her name? Blonde? There's only really two choices. I'll save the suspense. It's Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton. Some of her most popular singles include Jolene from 1973, Here You Come Again in 1977, 9 to 5 in 1980, and Islands in the Stream, her 1983 duet with Kenny Rogers. In 1992, Dolly Parton's country ballad, I Will Always Love You, was popularized by the late Whitney Houston from the Bodyguard soundtrack. You remember that one? That was actually, most of you probably know that, Dolly Parton's song. But I got to be honest, Whitney Houston blew it out of the park. She actually did it better. But if you prefer country music, you'll like Dolly's better. And she's the original, so how can I argue with that? Dolly's numerous accolades include 10 CMA Awards, 3 AMAs, 11 Grammy Awards, and in 1999, she was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Coming in at number 13 goes to Dolly Parton, the legend Dolly Parton. Man, talk about aging well, eh? I mean, God, how old is she now? She was old when I was little, so... well, she wasn't old, but she was older than me. Yeah, so once again, I'm DJ Ray. I'm here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. And I do a different Music Goats, which stands for Music's Greatest of All Times. I have a different theme every week. Last week it was the greatest hip-hopper, and we went to a complete extreme opposite, and today is the greatest country artist. So I hope you like country music. We left off at number 13, which brings me to number 12. Somewhere in between traditional and modern is Tim McGraw. Since 1994, Tim has posted an incredible 25 number one singles on Billboard's country charts. 25. 5, yeah. See, my math's getting better. And he continues pushing out hits with his latest single from 2024, One Bad Habit. That's actually on the country charts as we speak at number 26. So Tim's got it going on. You got to admit, the guy's got some bling, man. I think he's older than me, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's whatever. There's a cowboy for you. His 2006 Soul to Soul tour alongside his wife, Faith Hill, is one of the biggest, highest grossing tours in music history. Soul to Soul. That was the second one. I think he had a record before that. Don't quote me. But 2006 Soul to Soul tour with Faith Hill. Throughout his career, Tim McGraw sold over 80 million records worldwide and won 3 Grammy Awards, 14 ACM Awards, 11 CMAs, Country Music Awards, and 10 American Music Awards. So he's been busy. And I don't know that I have to really justify Tim McGraw at number 12. I mean, he's got the flair of everything. I mean, he's got the sexiness. He ages well. His voice isn't the best, but it's good. He's got a good voice. Number 12, Tim McGraw. Okay, next one surprised me. I would have had this guy at definitely top 3. And maybe this is like kind of like therapy for me that I can figure out my true love of music, especially country. Coming in at number 11. This guy is regarded as one of the most influential singers of the 20th century. Although he was just 29 years old when he died, Hank Williams posted 12 number one singles on Billboard's country charts in the US. 12. He was 29 when he died. So that's a lot. That's like, oh my God, it's great. Coming in at number 11 is Hank Williams, all time. Even though he was unable to read or notate music very well, he wrote iconic hits like I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, 1949, Hey Good Lookin', 1951, and Your Cheatin' Heart in 1952. He was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1961, the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1970, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987. Artists who cite Hank Williams as a pretty big influence include Tammy Wynette, Merle Haggard, Conway Twitty, and the king himself, Elvis Presley, to name just a few. So number 11, who I would have said no lower than number 3, but after doing the scoring, see, the way I look at Hank Williams is for a guy to come out with that many number one hits and die at 29, I don't know if anybody's done. I'm sure they have. The Beatles and but it's pretty mind blowing, especially for country, especially back then. So that always stands in my head, and I loved Hank Williams. So almost every song he ever made, I just love that heckling voice. Is it technically that good, or is it just yodeling? But it's standard Hank Williams. And I almost love every song of his, and that's probably why I'm a little biased when it comes to Hank Williams. But once I do the scoring system, the stats speak for themselves. And as great as it is, number 11, I would have thought it was higher, but number 11 is Hank Williams Sr. Okay, top 10, guys. No drum rolls yet. How's everybody doing in the chat room? Yeah, just checking out things. Morning Thunderbird. Everything going okay, Ange? Hi, David. Hi, David. How are you? Mary's here. Which one's your favorite, Mary? Can you type it in again? Because I don't know if your dad's favorite. And Mary, type in who you think is the GOAT, country GOAT, the greatest of all time. I'd be curious to see who you choose. Okay, number 10. Speaking of an artist who was heavily influenced by Hank Williams, this country legend was just that. Often referred to as the Rolls-Royce of country music, George Jones had more than 160 charted singles to his name from 1955 until his death in 2013. That's right, 160 singles that he charted. That's a lot, especially for a country singer. Out of these charted singles, he scored a total of 13 number one hits on Billboard's country music charts. Some of these chart toppers include White Lightning in 1959, She Thinks I Still Care, 1962, Walk Through This World With Me in 1967, and He Stopped Loving Her Today, 1980. In 2023, Rolling Stone magazine ranked him at number 24 on their list of the greatest singers of all time. Oh, wow, that's a big compliment. Greatest singers. I'm just looking to see if not a misprint. I could see maybe country singers, but greatest singers of all time. Here's the thing with singers. You got to watch. Do you judge by voice? Because if you go by voice, Celine Dion or Whitney Houston. But if you just go by style, so they should really say ranked him as the greatest style vocalist of all time. Anyway, that's what Rolling Stone says. It's a pretty good honor. Number 24, and it was just recent, 2023, Rolling Stone ranked him number 24 greatest singers of all time. Coming in at number 10 was George Jones. Number 9 is pretty interesting because she was actually married to George Jones between 1969 and 1975 and helped bring a woman's perspective to the male-dominated country music field. Speaking of George Jones's wife, Tammy Wynette. Many say Tammy Wynette's husband, but anyway. During her illustrious career, 20 of her songs topped the Billboard country music charts. Her most iconic number one single, Stand By Your Man, was so popular that it cracked the top 20 on the mainstream charts in 1968, a feat that was rare in those days, especially for a female country singer. A two-time Grammy Award winner, Tammy Wynette was also inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1998. One of the greatest pioneers for the ladies movement in country music ever. Number 9 goes to Tammy Wynette. Just going to grab a quick drink here. Say hi to everybody. Thanks for showing up, guys. I really do appreciate it. It's so fun seeing everybody talking and stuff like that and contributing with their thoughts on who their number one guess is on the country GOAT, greatest of all time. And we left off there at number 9 with Tammy Wynette, which brings me to number 8. His name, Garth Brooks. He's the only artist, coming in at number 8, he's the only artist in music history to have released 9 albums that were certified diamond. Okay, diamond is like the highest, and then you got to go into double diamond, triple diamond, right? Like diamond or better. So that's a feat. That's, I think, what most artists aim to do is, even if they certify gold, but diamond is pretty good. 9 albums were certified diamond. These albums helped produce an incredible 19 number one singles on Billboard's country music charts. Some of his most well-known songs include The Dance, 1990, Friends in Low Places, also 1990, Ain't Going Down Till the Sun Comes Up, 1993, Two Pina Coladas, 1998, that's just for him, by the way, and More Than a Memory in 2007. So, coming in at number 8, one of the most popular country artists of all time, it goes to Garth Brooks on DJ Ray's Country Goats. So we still got 7 to go. And lucky number 7, don't know if it was so lucky for her, but I personally consider this next artist as a female version of Hank Williams, in the sense that they both had a profound impact on country music. I'm speaking about Patsy Cline, number 7. Not only was Patsy and Hank from a similar era, but they also experienced similar experiences in the sense that they both had several hit singles in such a short amount of time. They both died at a very young age, as Hank was 29 and Patsy was 30. Okay? So when I think of Patsy, I think of Hank. When I think of Hank, I think of Patsy. Who's better? God. Well, this list says Patsy, but could be very well argued. Very similar paths. Who had more hits? I don't know. I liked all of Patsy's songs. I liked all of Hank's songs. But throughout her short career, Patsy Cline posted 2 number one country singles, including I Fall to Pieces in 1961 and She's Got You in 1962. And even though it didn't top the country charts, I'd be remiss not to mention Patsy's signature song, Crazy, from 1961, which, by the way, peaked at number 2 on the country charts. So it was that off from number 1. And I think most people would agree Crazy by Patsy Cline's her signature hit. A pioneer for women in country music, in 1973, Patsy Cline became the first female performer, the first to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Do I need to say any more about Patsy? Other than maybe she should be higher? Like, if I thought Hank should be in the top 3, where do I put Patsy? So, number 7 it is, right? So now it gets kind of interesting because we've got a couple crossovers, which when I think of country, I try to think of the purity of it. But crossovers are pure. It's just a different, vibe. Like guys like John Denver. But John Denver to me is clearly folk rock. Does he have a country tinge? Sure. Now, if you're going to go with John Denver, you might as well go with Glenn Campbell because he has an obvious country vibe to him, but he's still crossover. This next artist is definitely crossover and maybe pop, but she deserves this spot at number 6. She's a Canadian singer-songwriter who has sold over 100 million records and is the best-selling female artist, best in country music history. Who is it? You say Taylor Swift? Anne Murray, that's a good guess, but there you go. Say It Ain't Snow. Did you get it in first? Shania Twain comes in at number 6. That's incredible, you know. I mean, I respect Shania's career and everything, but I don't know, would I have thought her this high? I mean, I do. Let's carry on, but some stats about her. Among her many chart-topping country hits in the U.S., not just Canada, are songs like Any Man of Mine, 1995. These are all number ones in the U.S., okay? Not just a good song. Number one in the U.S. They're country pop crossovers. This is what she did to country music into Canada. Any Man of Mine, 1995. You're Still the One, 1998. And Honey, I'm Home, 1998. There's just a few. I mean, we can't forget Man, I Feel Like a Woman, or Whose Bed Have Your Boots Been Under, or the list goes on, right? Considered by many as the queen of country pop, Shania Twain has received 5 Grammy Awards and has been inducted into the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, and the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame. In 1999, the Academy of Country Music and the Country Music Association named her Entertainer of the Year. Number 6 spot goes to Shania Twain, fellow Canadian. Is that probably the only Canadian? These are all American. I mean, when you think of country music, we never really say that, but I mean, it's heavily American. Although I will say this, Canada's been on fire with their country artists lately. So, yeah, I think Canada's really come up the rear, but nobody's ever going to touch the USA for real country music. You know, they touch themselves. That didn't come out right. Americans, they just develop subgenres of country, and now they're at a point where they perfected country almost, but nobody gives it a try, especially in Canada. But Canada's starting to open up to country, so I don't know how many people are here from Canada, how many are USA. Feel free if you want to type it in, but I'm agreeing. Morning Thunderbird thinks Chris Stapleton should be in the top 5. That's a great pick, Morning Thunderbird. I'll say a little bit more about that in a bit. Okay, we'll leave it at that. So if you thought Shania Twain was a little interesting, this girl is the American version, in my opinion, of Shania Twain. But I hate to say it, a little bigger. Not that I hate to say it, but number 4 is Carrie Underwood. Okay, she rose to prominence in 2005 after winning the 4th season of American Idol, which isn't easy to do, especially back in those days. Nowadays, it's a joke. I don't even know if it's on the air. But back in 2004, to win that competition, at very least, you had to have an amazing voice. So I don't think there's too many people that could argue Carrie Underwood. It might not be your style of voice, but can argue the pitch and overall vocal quality. She's undeniably the greatest ever to win the singing competition. Think of who else really came out of American Idol. There's a handful of ants, but the only other one I can really think of is maybe Kelly Clarkson. She'd probably be second best. And what's his name? Scotty McCreery a little bit. But Scotty didn't cross over as well as Carrie Underwood, and obviously Kelly Underwood was pop. So, but back to Carrie Underwood. She's the biggest to ever win that singing competition, and she didn't waste any time creating hit after hit, beginning with her 2005 single, right after she won American Idol, Inside Your Heaven. This song made Carrie Underwood the first country artist ever to debut number 1 atop Billboard's Hot 100 chart. Not the country one, the all music chart, Hot 100. She debuted number 1, Inside Your Heaven, right to number 1. Now, I used to, in fairness, wonder if American Idol, because it's the relations with the record companies back in those days, which was kind of kept secret, but that they pushed their winners to the number 1 spot, because I seen that. So take it with a grain of salt, but a fact's a fact. And, you know, Billboard Hot 100 is, in my opinion, the biggest music chart in the world. Carrie Underwood, number 4, a master of crossover hits. She had many other singles that appealed not only to the country charts, but also on the US Hot 100. Some of her most popular tracks include my favorite. You could put the song on now and I'll just stop and have to listen. Before He Cheats, 2006. Cowboy Casanova, 2009. Undo It, 2010. Good Girl, 2012. All of which topped Billboard's country charts in the US. The most awarded country artist of all time, Carrie Underwood. Name any. Most awarded country artist of all time. Throughout her career, she received 8 Grammy Awards, 12 Billboard Music Awards, 16 ACM Awards, 17 American Music Awards, 9 CMA Awards, 23 CMT Awards, and 5 CMT Artist of the Year honors. Who does that? Well, Carrie Underwood does. So some could argue she could be even higher. But I got her here at number 4, Carrie Underwood. So I usually like a mini drum roll when I get to the top 3 because we're closing in on, you know, what everybody chose and, you know, and see if you're out of the running. I don't know if anybody's out of the running yet. I'm sure there's 1 or 2, but I will tell you this. The winner is in this chat room. Somebody picked the number 1 choice. So do a mini drum roll, take a drink. Okay, got to pick it up a bit because we're running tight on time here, but it's a couple of minutes between friends, right? Drum roll, yes, thank you. Thank you, Chrissy. Number 3, he was a prolific songwriter and was one of the main figures, probably the main figure maybe, I don't know, of the outlaw country genre that we were discussing earlier, the movement that developed in the late 1960s. Basically what it was 4 guys, 5, I think there was more than 4, but the 4 that stand out were Waylon Jennings, Chris Christopherson, Johnny Cash, and Willie Nelson, number 3. And they started a band, a supergroup. Those 4 guys started a supergroup called the Highwaymen, which I think I might get to. But throughout his storied career, Willie Nelson racked up a total of 12 number 1 singles on Billboard's country chart, which included favorites like Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, 1975, On the Road Again, 1980, On the Road Again, I gotta write that one down too. Always on My Mind, granted Elvis, whatever, but still he made a big 1982 version, and City of New Orleans in 1984. In 1964, Willie Nelson joined the Grand Ole Opry after signing with RCA Victor. And in 1993, he was officially inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Rolling Stone magazine included him on their 100 Greatest Guitarists and 100 Greatest Singers list. So coming in at number 3 goes to Willie Nelson. And I don't think anyone, you have their album? Or no, you were probably talking about. You got it, Chrissy. Just can't wait to get on. Snoop Dogg. Okay, I thought Darren picked Snoop Dogg for the greatest country artist. Hey, Debbie, how are you? Oh, Morning Thunderbird. Yeah, you wrote that in before me. Thunderbird, Highwaymen. Not too many people remember them, but Darren's got Willie Nelson on here, so I guess you're eliminated if that's your choice, Darren. That's the latest one I see. Mary, Toby Keith, or Luke Combs. Interesting. Well, I already said Toby Keith. He was number 20. And should have been higher. I love Toby Keith, but number 20. And I haven't said Luke Combs yet, so we've got 2 more after Willie Nelson. So let's get into it. Number 2. In a career that spanned over 6 decades, she had numerous hits, including Don't Come Home A-Drinkin', 1966, Fist City, 1968, Coal Miner's Daughter, 1970, and Out of My Head and Back in My Bed, 1977, to name just a few. Who are we speaking of? Coming in at number 2, anybody? Anybody grab this one? With that little bit of tidbit? Let's see. Oh, we got there. Mary got it, I think. Is it Mary first in? Stargate Kissy Elvis. No, okay, so, oh, there you go. I think Mary got it. It's Loretta Lynn. Loretta Lynn, an early pioneer for women in country music. Loretta Lynn won 3 Grammy Awards. And in 1972, she was the first woman ever to be named Entertainer of the Year by the Country Music Association. Some of her other accolades include a 1988 induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame, a 2008 induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 2010, Loretta Lynn received the prestigious Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. And Loretta Lynn comes in number 2. And I gotta be honest, I'm surprised. I know everybody talks about her greatness, and I know her songs and everything, but it's kind of like she's my Bob Dylan of country, in the sense that it took me a while to really get her, and I get her now. And you know, to be number 2 all time, even though it's just my opinion, I do use my scoring system, and I'm surprised by it myself. I would have had her lower personally, but talk about greatness. So that brings me to number 1. Let's just get ready for that drum roll. Who's going to be my drum roller? They should make little drum roll sounds. They probably do. I'm just too old to figure it out. Paul's got Reba. Okay. Whoever said, well, just before that, let's keep you hanging for a sec. I'm DJ Ray. I do this every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock live on TikTok. I do a different episode of Music Goats. Music Goats standing for greatest of all time in different genres. Different, not just genres, different everything. But it's all about music. Last week we did the greatest hip hopper of all time, counted down the top 20, and it turned out my sister Ange buzzed in earlier before I got to number 1 with Eminem, and it was Eminem. This week we are now at number 1. I need that official drum roll, so here we go. The number 1 country artist of all time, female, male, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. Today, the greatest country artist of all time is, drum roll, affectionately referred to as the Man in Black. He was particularly known for his deep, calm, bass baritone voice. His genre-spanning music embraced country, rock and roll, rockabilly, blues, folk, and even gospel. Of course, I'm speaking about Johnny Cash. And who got that? And she won that one. Who picked Johnny Cash? I see a lot of Johnny Cashes coming out. Where's my sister? Show me the money. Waiting to see who the official winner is. Ange, do you know? Because there's so much scrolling to do, I don't think I could. Okay, somebody let me know. Me. Anna Banana. Always in for the prize, even if there's not a prize, eh? I did. I can't get sarcasm over chat. I'm bad with sarcasm anyway. Over chat, it's just that much more challenging. Okay, Johnny Cash is, again, a little surprising to me. I love Johnny Cash, but I wouldn't have thought of him as number 1. But the facts speak loudly here. His crossover appeal, which is kind of weird when you think of Johnny Cash, because you wouldn't think of it as being pop, because he was raw. He was one of the outlaws, the highwaymen. You know, he's a rebel. He was, I don't know, man, like Johnny Cash, but he was also kind of cool and everything. Like he even, you know, interesting guy. Okay, I think I lost you guys for a sec, but I don't know why it does that. It's like, but anyway, so Johnny Cash, His crossover appeal earned him the rare honor of being inducted into the Country, Rock and Roll, and Gospel Music Halls of Fame. Other than Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash was the only other artist to accomplish this feat. Yes, he did, Jen. You're right. You're right. He did a lot of interesting things. I mean, he had a hit on Billboard's Hot 100 in the 2000s with that song "Hurt." Right. So, having sold more than 90 million records worldwide, he's considered as one of the best-selling country artists of all time. So, did we figure out who the winner was? Yeah, you're right, Darren. Man who knows his stuff. I don't know if it's the Johnny Cash stuff or the Nine Inch Nails that you really know better. Just looking at. Okay, guys. So yeah, there you have it. I still don't know. I still didn't get. Looking for my sister to. Ange. Do you know who got that one? Kind of hard. Or just tell me if you're the person, because it's hard. There's so much scrolling here. My eyes aren't getting any better as age goes on. Well, whoever said Johnny Cash first is our winner tonight. Oh, Jen did, Ange? Is that what you're saying? Okay. If it was you, Jen, congratulations. That was a great choice, because I wouldn't even have picked Johnny Cash number one. It's just after doing the scoring, he's the man in black. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, but the live, just before I let you go, I just want to give a few honorable mentions to some others that should have made this list, but there's just only so many. I got to give honorable mentions to Alan Jackson, Dwight Yoakam, Conway Twitty, Merle Haggard, Brad Paisley, and you might be surprised by this one, but Morgan Wallen. And the only reason Morgan Wallen, who's charting, he's at the top of his game right now. The only reason he's not on this list is because he's still too young. He hasn't done enough, but what he's done so far tops half of these artists for early days. So watch for Morgan Wallen. If you're not too familiar with Morgan Wallen, he's not brand new. He's been out for a few years now. He's just starting to come into his stride. He's becoming the face of country, even though there's better singers than him. Like somebody mentioned earlier about, Luke Combs, Chris Stapleton, and there's one other guy, Luke Combs, Chris Stapleton, and even Jelly Roll to some degree. But those guys are better singers than Morgan Wallen. But as we know with artists in the past, I'm not going to mention names, with screechy voices, but become, look at Mick Jagger. I love Mick Jagger to death, but he doesn't have the most technically sound voice, but you can pick his voice out of anywhere, and he made it his own. And to me, that makes him one of the best singers of all time. So Uniquity is good, but Morgan Wallen, check him out sometime. So that does it for this week. I just want to remind you that next week, January 21st, Tuesday, January 21st, I believe it is, my music goat for that week is going to be the greatest, and you're going to like this one, the greatest disco song of all time. I'm going to choose the greatest. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, too. The greatest disco song, 1 week from tonight, Tuesday night at 8 p.m., January 21st, the greatest disco song I'm going to reveal to you guys. Also, be sure and check me out on social media. I'm on most of the major platforms, and you can easily find me by typing in DJ Ray's Music. Alternately, you can check out my official website at djraysmusic.com. So that's it for this week, guys. Thank you for sticking with me. Appreciate everybody that joined in. Anybody I missed saying hi to, my apologies. Paul, I don't think I said hi. I just want to say hi to you. And if anybody else, I'm sorry if I missed you. I said JT Recount. Thanks very much, guys. Have a great night, and I hope to see you next Tuesday.